little bit less consistently, a lot less winning for KOO Tigers in the recent past.
Yeah, and again, since they have the last game of the season, like we were talking about, and they have the first playoff date on Sunday, so they only have 2 full days to prepare for the next match. We don't expect to see something very unique here from the KOO Tigers today if they're hiding picks, and KOO is unpredictable in the drafting phase. Sometimes they're going to pull out a jungle Trundle, sometimes a jungle Scion, sometimes a mid Scion. These are all champions that they've performed on in the past.
And that's why, when you look at that best of 3, Najin versus KOO, very easy to look at Najin's impressive performances. Watch, for example, God moding it on Lee Sin just yesterday and think, okay, easy win for Najin. But this KOO team could really ape Najin's shield from last year and really do something different and come through a gauntlet if they can really get the picks working. Because that's where they've been really struggling, is finding a coherent identity to get them through the game.
And the sweet spot for KOO when it comes to the playoffs is 3rd. If they can make 3rd, they will have enough circuit points to go to the World Championship.
Okay.
So important. And SKT wins the finals. That's the other important one, because if SKT loses the finals, SKT will have the most circuit points and KOO will have to fight through the gauntlet.
To think about Smeb, considering the Riven been seeing so much play recently. Of course, he's one of the people to get a pentakill on this champion this season. Riven been doing a lot of impressive carry things in the top, and just not mention the catch. Locked in the Gragas, which has been its most reliable pick, but again, doesn't really have much carry potential from the jungle for spending.
Yeah, that is, yeah, you're not going to have catch carry this team. That is for sure, but he's played the Gragas in his last 3 games. Catch is still wildly inconsistent. Hojin locking in the Lee Sin. Champion we haven't seen him play in quite some time, but he used to really favor this back on his Najin Blacksword days.
And the champion that really necessitated his name change, because he was actually renamed because people thought it would be too confusing to have Lee playing Lee. Meanwhile, Samsung has Eve playing Eve, so I don't really know about the necessary renaming potential, but Hojin on Lee.
And Vayne, the very early lock actually, for Nuclear. Bit odd to be selecting a Vayne AD carry that early on, considering that Prey may well just respond with a Lucian here. And there is the Alistar picked.
Will he respond with a Lucian? Are we sure that
Ashe.
he's not going to play? Wow, okay, he locks in Ashe. Now this is surprising, because why is he showing the Ashe today? Maybe he needs to get in terms of competitive shot calling, they want to get it in, but suddenly Initiation comes through from the AD carry. And this is a player who's been super, super inflexible. Prey has played 16 games of Corki, 12 games of Sivir, and suddenly KOO's gone crazy in the draft phase.
Well, we've seen the Yasuo come in from KOO. In Game 1 versus Najin, they had a very convincing win with the Yasuo pick. They had knockups absolutely everywhere. KOO was going crazy all over the map. This is a great initiation tool. Basically, KOO looking at running a pick composition here. They have the crowd control coming in from the Braum. They have the initiation from the Fog of War. And just yesterday, Fury won 2 games against the CJ sub-squad using this champion, and he played it well.
But why today, Monte Cristo? Why in this match that literally means nothing apart from just influencing the final regular season standings? Are they showing the Ashe? That's the question I have. Waiting to see what threat Speno they need to lock in their laners. Looks like they might actually pick for mid lane and pick the Kayle into Yasuo matchup. That's a very strong matchup for Kayle. They're really considering their options. The big thing about this, of course, is if you max E, the E goes through the win wall, so you can really get excellent trading in. Waiting to see a top lane. They'd be going very AD-centric if they didn't pick up Rumble, so Rumble seems almost necessitated by the draft that KOO's already put together.
Yeah, I think the Rumbles here, you're looking for that big Wombo combo. We've seen what happens with Rumble and Yasuo ults together when Samsung played against SK Telecom, and Kuve and Crown were able to land quite a few of those. Locking people up onto the equalizer means a ton of damage. And that'll be it. So interesting combo, interesting composition from the KOO Tigers.
And I'm super interested to see how the 2 threats, specifically the Kayle and the Vayne, get through these late game team fights. We're expecting QSS second just to navigate away from the Ashe arrow and be able to really take advantage of Ashe in a side wave one-on-one. If your support ever leaves the lane, Vayne will easily be able to outduel Ashe, especially with the QSS. And now in team fights, QSS and the invulnerability from Kayle, potential for Nuclear to go super off in this game.
Yeah, Spenu's problem though, very poor siege, and Kayle will be running teleport in this game, so Sawson basically there to eliminate last breath threats from KOO. Well, this is going to be a weird one. I'm glad we're seeing some different stuff. Sassen making it exciting in the last game of the season, bringing back the Kale, and the Kale with the TP, no less. Now, this also, of course, probably just going to see the Nashor's Tooth, especially since it's been upgraded, but there's also the outside shot at the Devourer. That's actually a reasonable build.
Without smite, though.
Yeah, oh, without the smite, yeah. Too bad. So it will just be the Nashor's first. Well, in any case, I'm looking forward to seeing what Sassen can do. Can he shut down the Yasuo with that Divine Intervention? Well, we're going to get into Game 1. Spenu versus KOO starts now. Spenu versus KOO, and that teleport was changed to an exhaust at the last second. So double exhaust, certainly safe against the Yasuo burst, but I'm sad that we're not going to see any teleport divine interventions.
I know you're a big fan of the multiple teleport hijinks of the likes of Renegades and many other teams in recent history. Sassen is picked purely for lane monsters. That's what he's picked.
Yeah.
The Righteous Flurry, the E from KO that gives the splash damage, goes through the win wall. And why that's so significant is that if you've noticed, all these Yasuo players, since Crown, of course, play a couple of Yasuo games, people are really trending towards Yasuo. They love maxing E. It gives you a lot of lane control, makes it very difficult to hit skill shots. KO doesn't have that problem. She just uses her slow the Q, presses E, and just keeps trading wherever the Yasuo is dashing to. So it's a very reliable lane choice, and it also works flexibly with a hyper carry. So I like to see the KO come through. And it's just one of those realities that Yasuo wasn't seen for a long time. Suddenly he's back in the meta, and now people are playing the champions that really deal with Yasuo super well, both in a team fight with the intervention and in lane with the E.
Yeah, still potentially a win wall problem when it comes to Spenu's other champions, obviously. You just have to keep that Yasuo down early if you can. Lane swap will be going through here.
Win wall problem, definitely the subtitle of yesterday's series, specifically the CJ versus Samsung Game 3.
I know you enjoyed that composition too.
It was awful.
It was real bad. That CJ comp in Game 3 was truly unique in its horrible qualities.
You spent a long time trying to justify it when I was like, it's just bad. And KOO might have to max Q in this matchup, as I would explain, just because maxing E often gets him into more issues than it solves, just given the reliability of the targeted slow and auto attacks going through win walls. So KOO going to have to mix it up in terms of skill order and just navigating a difficult laning phase against Kale.
Yeah, I love seeing Sassen, though, on all of these champions. He seems to have such a large champion pool that he's comfortable in playing. Answers the rather unorthodox Yasuo mid with an off-meta pick himself. See if this becomes more common throughout our playoffs, as it very well could.
Super surprising to see the blue side lane swap come in from Spenu, as we see some dueling. Level 1, 2. Yasuo's still going to be very strong in this matchup, but surprising to see Vayne swap into top, despite the fact that Vayne Alistar should win the laning matchup pretty comfortably against Ashbomb, especially early. Now, even later on, it will still get good with the Blade of the Ruin King, but it's just surprising to see people dodge out of an Ashe 2v2 matchup.
Yeah, well, it'll give some Prey some time alone to go farming, and we'll see what happens. Gorilla already with an early recall here will be leaving Prey all by his lonesome. Not a really good lane situation, though. He is pushing slowly back towards the Tigers, but it's not an overwhelming freeze by any means. Meanwhile, Smeb will hit at level 3 before getting into lane himself. So that was actually a full jungle follow from Smeb. Not something we see too commonly.
Yeah, pick up level 3 without any lane minions whatsoever is almost a surreal thing to see. Hojin's going to come and help Smeb push out the lane to stop the hard freeze. Catches here as well to maybe try and reset it, but a lot of wave management in top is, wow. Secret actually got pretty aggressive there.
Yeah, I like seeing Secret's Alistar too. It's been one of his better champions for these engages. He has had some shining moments on this pick in particular, and I think it's good for Spenu because it allows them to sort of reset. They have the Alistar, which means if they make a mistake, they can just pop the ult and disengage, as opposed to dying, which is the more common result. KOO pushed up too far right here, and here comes everyone. Flash has to be used on catch immediately.
And that's the reality of the KO matchup. Usually you'd want to try and just dash over, but if you make a mistake, you're not escaping because of the reliability of KO's damage uniquely onto the Yasuo. So draws out the flash. Secret was there just a little bit later. KOO, no flash, now has to play a lot more defensively in lane.
Yeah, you can see KOO, their support and jungler coming down into the river. They are seen immediately, however, but it is just a little bit of a warding mission. But they have every idea of what is going on here from the Tigers. They know they are trying to get that wraparound, so Soul will peel off of the wave.
So I want to come back to the discussion of Alistar. You're talking about Alistar, and I agree that Secret's Alistar, one of the better picks. We already mentioned Alistar Vayne, a very strong lane 2v2. Alistar's a big question mark for me for KOO, specifically because Gorilla's season stats for Alistar is a 7-0, 8.8 KDA, but they have not picked Alistar in the past 8 best-of-3s. He hasn't been playing that champion despite a very high win rate. Almost feels like they want to maybe dodge any attention coming into playoffs.
Yeah, it could be something like that. The priority on Braum, I guess, I don't think is unusual if they're going to take that. It's available in the first round of the draft on Red's side because it does shut down so much of that poke. But it also has to be said, Papa, it's not just this season. Gorilla is professionally undefeated on Braum, on Alistar. He has never lost a game on Alistar ever. So it goes beyond this season.
And look, that even just adds to the fact, just because, look, I agree with you, Braum may be more flexible, does maybe better in an unlocked laning phase, although Alistar can do plenty of work in that state as well. It's just, this guy is a wonderful Alistar player, and they just haven't been picking, and it's no coincidence their last 8 best-of-3s largely contain some series where they've really struggled.
Yeah, and especially because I think one of the reasons why Alistar is so good for KOO is that he can prevent them from getting dove. And Gorilla is usually in the right place on the map to where the action is happening, and if you can scare the enemy team off diving you, you're probably going to end in the mid-game with a more even gold total, which is where KOO Tigers struggle to get, but if they get there, they can frequently win through better shot calling. Whenever
there's a split push, Alistar can either really prevent a turret dive or actually go for a turret dive himself, such as a unique interaction with percentage damage reduction and turrets. So the flexibility would have helped KOO in some of their kind of weak early mid-game situations, get them to that late game where they've always been a very solid team.
I think, though, that they took the Braum this game because they wanted to take the Ashe later on. So with that wall ability, you'll notice they took both wall champions out while they picked Ashe, so there's not that same level of defense against the Enchanted Crystal Arrow.
We need to come up with a clever name for the duo of Yasuo and the Braum. So the Unbreakable and the Wind Wall. There has to be something good there.
Something breaking wind.
The break wind? That's really funny. The break wind combo. Very useful.
Secret and Catch looking for something here, but KOO playing this pretty far back. Doesn't want to tangle with this Kayle early. Of course, building into the Nashor's Tooth first to maximize attack speed on the Righteous Fury.
Kayle's one of those champions you don't really consider. It's always one of those edge cases where when AP itemization changes, Kayle often gets a lot stronger or a lot weaker. We remember, what, a year and a half ago where Nashor's Tooth was put down to about 2,000 gold, 2,100 gold. Suddenly Kayle was all over the meta. Nashor's Tooth got nerfed or really rebalanced in terms of power and got more expensive. Suddenly she was not Sin. You think about the items that would change, the likes of Liandry's, the likes of Nashor's Tooth got better just objectively, so it actually makes Kayle relatively stronger.
Yeah, it does. I guess my concern with Kayle is still the relatively limited wave clear that she has. And
Hurricane could still come in. That does help a little bit. So very flexible build path might work out. But you're right. The downside is there if things go poorly for the Kayle.
She is also very squishy if you draw out her Divine Intervention. And she has to be close to do a lot of damage, that Righteous Fury. Not going to put you outside of range of many of these abilities. And champions like Maokai can really mess her up. Now, of course, they have Maokai this game, but it's still a present concern if we talk about targeted CC or anything of the sort.
KOO have managed to have lane pressure in top and bot. They parlayed their top lane pressure into a blue buff invade. Instead of going for this early dragon, they have the Rumble. They still have a very good Dragon taking comp, but they haven't put any pressure onto the bottom side of the map. So despite having the Rumble and the Yasuo, okay, Yasuo's going in aggressively, but don't expect this to go too well for the Yasuo, except for now.
There's the Ignite actually coming through. KOO trying to catch up, the slow on him. There's the Divine Intervention, gets the Summoner of Exhaust out, so they trade pretty evenly, ult for ult, Summoner for Summoner. Gorilla now in the mid lane, and Prey all by himself. Uh-oh, Flash and Kadem. Oh my, that was a terrible combo from Spenu, and they are going to die as a result of it. Holy cow, that misplay was immense.
You say holy cow, I say mortal cow, because the cow goes down and Prey is laughing.
It's like, what are they doing right now? Whoa, why would you use Condemn right there? That was really Nuclear's fault more than anything, because Secret flashed in for the pull. You have to know that headbutt is coming next. That's the next part of the combo. So to condemn him after that and then follow up with the dive, even through the loss of all of your crowd control abilities, was incredibly foolish from Spenu.
And look, Nuclear might feel hard done by. Sometimes the acquisition rate for the stun is actually quite generous, but it all seems pretty straightforward. And yeah, that was some volleyball coming through, and then the dive. That's the really big question. But remember, Nuclear's the one that enabled the dive. He's the one that flashed into turret range and took the aggro. Definitely Nuclear with the really big misplay there.
Prey with the dangerous game too, getting some nice HP back under the turret. Wow. Well, Papa Smithy, that was one of the worst dives I've ever seen.
And this is from a Spenu team that's been leveling up towards the end of the season, not getting worse. So awkward, to say the least.
Really awkward. Well, there's a Hawk, gonna see catch right there. And I don't think they're gonna be able to pull this off without any summoner spells. Bottom lane, maybe they can kill Prey. But Prey has his arrow back up right now, so this seems like a very optimistic gank.
Well, with the belly slam or body slam straight into vision and not in range, he's going to back away. Still no dragons like we mentioned, but Prey on a champion like Ashe doesn't have the strongest laning phase, can be dived in the late game, but man, is she strong with initiation and now has just a boatload of extra gold out of nowhere.
Yeah. Free gold for Prey. And we'll get him closer and closer to that Infinity Edge, has the Avarice Blade. And Catch just going to walk right by a pink ward, so KOO much more free to play aggressively in the bottom side right now, use that volley to continuously harass Nuclear. Nuclear has some pretty good sustain between the Alistar and the Cutlass right now, but he will be zoned off the wave.
The item timings that have already come up from KOO are crazy. The Haunted guy's already been transformed into the Andres in the top lane. The Shiv is right on time for KOO, and now Prey is ahead of where you'd expect an Ashe to be in the laning phase. So whether it's Dragon Threat, whether it's another invade onto the blue buff, KOO have a lot of immediate power already achieved in their items.
Yeah, they do. So this is where they're going to start doing some work. Can they dive themselves or start to set up for a possible Dragon attempt? Considering the Yasuo has that mid lane push forward. There are no wards from Spenu. They really can't fight this if the Dragon... They decide to take this Dragon. They absolutely should go for it right now.
They're going to have their pink ward.
Oh, Smev has his TP down, so they're not going to do it for a little bit. At least he TP'd back up. No equalizer either.
But with that pink ward clear, there's literally no wards at all on the bottom side of the map for Spenu. Not one to speak of. So Secret doing some ward clearing. He changed to a sweeper without getting the sightstone. Went for the boots of Moby. He certainly doesn't have any freedom to roam with the lack of vision. So yeah, some misallocation of resources. They desperately need that sightstone bottom or even a warding totem, but they have neither.
They've got absolutely nothing right now. Early swap for Nuclear into the Scrying Orb. At least he'll get some warning. Catch playing with fire right here as Hojin comes in. Explosive cast will disengage, but Hojin here in the enemy jungle making life difficult. Secret gets the angle into the Tri-Brush, so Hojin will have to back off.
I mean, Catch is getting more than they really deserve onto Chris. So if you have no vision on that side of the map, you should be losing every resource, even though it's right under your nose. Poor use of gold. Really need a sightstone from somebody. Both Catch and Secret obviously will get them eventually, but Secret should know after the failed turret dive that his freedom to roam with these Moby boots isn't going to be there because they need lane pressure to hold this Ashe accountable.
They definitely do. Well, the blue steal will come through in any event. Curl already here, and they're going to go on to catch immediately. There's the last breath. Catch forces the flash already, but the equalizer quickly going to finish that one off. Sassen will be forced to flash, but he will get out of harm's way. Meanwhile, Prey and Gorilla continue just to push Nuclear and Secret under this turret, chunking them out ever so slowly.
And the communication problems continue for Spenno. Specifically, Catch used Flash, and Sassen kind of correctly judged the situation, didn't bother to use the intervention because Catch was going to die regardless, but then he shouldn't be using the Summoner spell. So we've seen already a poor dive initiated by Nuclear, and now the jungler and mid lane are certainly not on the same wavelength in terms of use of summoners and important ultimates. Looking really bad for Spenno in the first 15 minutes.
Yeah, it is. That gold lead increases to 3,000 in 15 minutes. Surprisingly, no dragon taken yet by the Tigers. They're still going to be delayed after what happened with that equalizer around the blue buff, waiting for it to come back. Kuro did pick up the blue buff in the end because of Catch's death.
Smeb played a lot of the Rumble this season, 7-4, 4.5 KDA. It's not a surprise. Again, they love to favor those mid-game powered comps, and Rumble has a wonderful 1 or 2 item power spike. Doing Rumble things, invading. They've contested the last 2 blue buffs. Sassen, he is having some mana regen issues. Nationals 2 used to provide that flat mana regen, but now no longer providing any regen, so has to be careful, has to be judicious. And this has meant that Kuro, in a laning counter matchup, is actually even in CS and has equal lane pressure in mid.
Yeah, quite impressive, and he's going for a BF sword, actually, as his second item. We've seen such diversity yesterday. Of course, Crown going into the Blade after the Static Shiv, and other times the Trinity Force, the second item.
These are definitely the champions that really appeal to me most, the likes of Twisted Fate and Yasuo, who can really build differently, and often that build lets you know what the team's mindset and what the individual player's mindset about both the laning phase and how team fights will come out. So maybe looking for the highest damage build. I believe there was a time when Dade would build Bloodthirst a second. I'm not expecting that in this game, but again, the flexibility's there.
Yeah, absolutely is. But if you build a BF sword item as your second item, you're basically looking to power up your ultimate and get that big, big combo in. So it's up to Gorilla and Hojin really to help set that up.
I think it's a gold thing more so, Monte Cristo, because you've got the one tool that's the best at negating burst. It's, of course, the intervention that can be used when you're in the last breath, can be used very flexibly, can be used on an ally. To me, you desperately want a Trinity Force just because your consistent damage is so high.
Yeah.
He's on such a short cooldown with the refresh, so is your Q. You're always proccing Trinity Force in an engagement, basically off your Trinity Force internal cooldown. Maybe it was just 1550 gold, and just with the texture of how the game's going, the buy doesn't really matter.
I guess, but if you, that would be a very fringe case because of the similarity in gold cost between BF Sword and Phage. Yeah. So that would be, I think, an unusual circumstance, but perhaps that was the case in this particular scenario.
Wave clear, but no pressure from Sassen, and that, yeah. Then you're just left with a KO that in the best case scenario, specifically your Vayne has gotten rolling, it's fine, but with Vayne behind and KO even, shapes really well for KOO in these mid-game fights.
All right, but they are going to be grouping. Here's the TP coming in from Rumble. Arrow already in flight. Who's it going to hit? It is going to just nail Secret, and there's the equalizer. What a huge combo coming in. Yasuo already dead, though. Can Smeb help turn this around? Gorilla going to jump to him. Here comes Hojin, forces Nuclear out. There's a flash from Hojin. Nice condemn. But guess what? Smeb still on the backside. Prey joins up in the mid lane after walking from the bottom river. Soul just slowly marching to death underneath the turret. Triple kill for Hojin as Gorilla cleans up the ace.
And it was looking really good for Spenno when they picked up the first kill, but it's really nice skirmishing, more so than necessary team fighting. There was multiple fronts that fight was fought on, and credit to KOO, specifically Prey, free hitting the backline, now 2-0-2. KOO looking great. Watch the replay. Remember, no one's there. Ashe is nowhere, not even in the picture, so that's why they just burst down Kuro. The equalizer's on point, though, from a long way away, and then Smeb, with that early Leandra, is doing a lot of damage.
Yeah, pretty huge there to take that out, but that equalizer and Smeb's team fighting on this Rumble was really what won the fight for them. Certainly the Lee Sin getting a decent amount of damage there. He did go Cinder Hulk too, so surprising he picked up so many of those kills.
Just the reality of getting those last hits, not ideal, especially with Prey being the other person who was DPSing down both of those targets, but Probably not going to matter when you're 8-1 up and, what, 7,000 gold at 19 minutes and with the only dragon of the game. Just piling up the advantages are the KOO Tigers.
Yeah, and we didn't even mention, but Gorilla and Hojin combined for 4 of the 5 kills in that team fight, considering that Gorilla got the last one too. So not a particularly good situation when it comes to gold distribution for the KOO Tigers, but frankly, this game is such a giant lead for KOO that it probably is not going to make any difference.
Oh, we're going to keep getting aggressive. Secret doesn't quite have the ultimate. The Unbreakable about 5 seconds away.
Yep, they're going to go in though. There's Catch, gets destroyed. Another kill for Hojin. Now they're trying to follow it up, but KOO still chunking through that front line. Gorilla is going to fall, but Secret, no more ultimate, will just get poked with a shiv and be the next casualty. Soul very low.
Lucky. He's really lucky that the concussive blow stacks dropped off, but he's going to re-engage and die.
Yeah, the volley was there from the angle to apply those frost shots, and that means that it will be a 3-for-1, losing only the support. Another kill for Prey as they push on to the mid lane tier 2.
You can tell how bloodthirsty this game has been, Monte Cristo, by the fact that Spenu have 5 pink wards on the map as Sassen falls super low. Is he going to die? Not quite. But they actually have stuck 5 pink wards on the map just because it's been so bloodthirsty that no one's been checking brushes. One's going to be walked through now. There's never, very, very rarely a scenario where a team gets 5 pink wards on the map and are losing by this much.
Yeah, that's a lot of investment, however, into vision control when they can't even really contest objectives. They sort of have to go for a pick at this point if they're going to have any relevance at all. Gorilla actually building a Frozen Heart this game.
Amusingly, Prey and KOO copying builds. Prey slightly ahead, got the Berserker Greaves completed, but otherwise you can see the carries certainly on the same wavelength for the KOO Tigers.
I really like the Frozen Heart build from Gorilla against the Kale in particular, who's trying to build presumably into a Runins. And because the top laner and the jungle are not going to get those items, might as well pick it up on your support.
It's a really fun double duty item just because KOO blocks up the Reckoning there. Because let's think about the 2v2. There is still scenarios where Nuka is able to duel down Ashe, but suddenly you put the Frozen Heart down, you get the W from Braum, you get the armor, of course, which is percentage from his total armor stat that he can donate to Ashe, and then just quite simply the Frozen Heart aura, which will actually even impact the 2v2. So both in a laning phase and in a team fight. Speaking of team fights,
big engage by Secret here. They find the 4v5. Now there's the Glacial Fissure going down. KOO exhausted, but he's going to wait. Drops the last breath and kills Sassen nearly immediately. KOO just ripping through the enemy team. Double kill for him already. Triple kill. Soul getting low. He will be finished off by Prey, and Secret gets out. You have to say it was probably a good idea for Spenu to engage that. That was one of their last chances potentially to win this game.
But it's 3 team fights in a row where the equalizer come from completely out of picture because Smeb hasn't been grouped and they still won the team fight. Such has been the strength of the early power spikes, basically donated to Prey with the poor turret dive and farmed out in mid by KOO in a laning counter matchup that Sassen really should have had by the horns.
Yeah, that is true. Well, what can you say? Let's take a look at this again. And once more, the equalizer will come through in a huge way.
Exactly. Remember, there's no damage, no contribution from Rumble at this point, and already KOO is winning. By the time the equalizers come down, KOO already has a double kill. So it's no surprise he shows up late. He has plenty of items at this point. The rotational play, the warding from Spenu, has been super on point, but they've just been outmatched by the KOO Tigers, trying to look for form as they kind of roll into their playoff match on Sunday.
Okay. Gorilla decided to build a Zeke's. The joke was on me, Papa Smithy. That Glacial Shroud was not for the much more obvious Frozen Heart against Vayne Kale. It was for more damage.
Get owned, Monte Cristo. If you think about it, though, it actually gives KOO too much crit chance. He'll be way over 100% because the donation still gives him. The donation gives him 100% crit, which is hilarious in its own right. And Prey's going to be very close to 100% himself. So easy days for these carries to put out damage. Doesn't matter how many armor items you pick up. When 2 people are around, that 100% crit.
Yeah, it's pretty devastating. He is linked up to Prey at the moment.
He can change his mind.
Yeah, always can.
He can change his mind. Give Smeb some more AP for those amazing equalizers.
20% more AP.
The KOO Tigers. They're rolling away with this one. I can see you moving towards your phone, thinking about opening up another stream for a different game. Let's going on at the same
I hope
time.
it's going. I hope it's going this well. I hope it's going this well. But anyway, KOO now looking like they're on their final assault here. There's just insufficient wave clear from Spenu right now. That is one of the pitfalls of this team composition, is very low range, very low wave clear when that Righteous Glory is off cooldown.
But the decision-making in terms of items is fine. Sarson's got the Hurricane. If they were ahead, if this was a snowball Hurricane, that would solve a lot of their wave clear issues. The issue is, when KO's behind and she only had a farm late in mid, only now has the Nashor's Tooth and Hurricane, she doesn't really do any semblance of burst. The damage is slow, the teleport's coming in, and there's the arrow. And
they're just going to stun lock Sarson and destroy him. Nuclear eats a crit, has to run away. Catch found out in the front line. Easy inhibitor from the KOO Tigers. And they are going to keep on powering through to these inhibitor turrets. Yeah, I don't think they can finish the game right now. Death timer's way too short.
They are way too short, but the game in a lot of ways was done about 10 minutes ago, and with 16,000 gold at 25 minutes, the slow and steady KOO team that usually tries to fight around Dragon to find their wins hasn't needed that this game.
Yeah, looking potent, having that strong early game. Now, to do that against Spenu is one thing. To do that against Najin is going to be something else entirely.
Don't disagree with you. Sunday and today, almost no relevance. Like if you watched CJ Entis' game yesterday, the CJ Entis that rocked up in game 1 against Samsung and the one that was on the field for the next 2, vastly different in a lot of ways. So always have to temper expectations when it's these games that aren't even for seeding. They're for nothing, really. They're just for a bit of fun. It's almost an exhibition match to end our regular season coverage in OGN as the arrow finds out the blues down, but KOO just looking to finish off this game.
There you go. The Sonic Wave will come in, but not going to be followed up on. They have pushed out the bottom side. No more Baron buff for the Tigers.
Tanky, wow, okay, that's interesting. They don't have a true tank, so maybe it's just a preference for him to build the Randuin as a third item. Don't think he would do this in a different game. We have already seen him go, of course, for the most expensive Yasuo build, the Trinity Force, Infinity Edge, Static Shiv, on a different day, but I don't mind the mindset or the adaptation in this game in particular.
I think just take it. It's safe right now. There's Gorilla with the disengage to try and get onto Prey immediately. There's the exhaust onto Prey, knocked away by Gragas, but there he's going to fall to the Maokai. But here's the equalizer once again, and it is just burning down Spenu's Sonic Boom. They're still pursuing catch. Sasin gets on the end of a Yasuo sword, and now this may be the end of all things here as the flash for the triple kill comes through from Smeb, who is always there shooting the equalizer out of the fog of war and just nailing it every time.
And that's the hilarious thing. He's always there in spirit, but only in terms of equalizers is he contributing to team fight kills before, honestly, they're already over. And that just shows how strong the KOO Tigers are in game 1 here. Hojin goes for the style points, doesn't quite get them. Swagger W from Catch keeps him alive, but the KOO Tigers should be picking up the 1-0 very academically.
Yeah, and Catch,
okay.
They're going to fight this. They actually take down the Yasuo, so instead of just going for the Nexus, they give a double kill to Soul. Well, not the best idea there.
Very solo Q-esque, no one pinging on the Nexus that time. Everyone was looking to pad their KDAs. You can understand from Smeb, 6-0 and 8. Honestly, Hojin as well, 4-0 and 14. Don't know about the priority on KDAs in this particular game, but a bit of silliness that extends the game for a couple more minutes.
Ooh, Soul getting close to denying a recall, but can't quite make it work. And yeah, they still, I mean, during that dive, remember, they didn't actually take down the top tower nor the top inhibitor. They just pile drive through it and went for the Nexus turrets.
Just to clarify, I don't believe that taking down turrets actually affects your endgame score, Monte Cristo, so don't really see the point of that.
You just got to dive the Nexus.
They've got enough damage items. Honestly, Kuro's already building tanky. He might as well go for the kills right at this point. So
he's got the durability Yasuo build.
He will endure. He's been close to pentakills, so he just wants to stay alive to try and get that kill involvement. Honestly, he has so many different ways to get kill involvement with his E having such a short cooldown, Q's on a short cooldown. He's already got very high base attack speed. Just wants to put himself in prime position to pick up a pentakill.
Fair enough. Well, Gorilla is going for the Frozen Heart now.
Everyone's got a Frozen Heart, Monte Cristo. There's 2 on Spenu.
Yeah, Frozen Heart, obviously very effective against KOO's composition, but they don't have a great answer to the Rumble damage, and this is a very fed Rumble from Smeb.
good that he's gone Equalizer-centric because he certainly hasn't been in any fights to do anything other than...
Hey, he's cleaned up some of those fights, Papa Smithy. He ran around in circles with his Flame Spitter and got triple kills. I saw it with my own eyes.
And the very high skill cap press Q and right-click build is...
Gotta press Q and then right-click in a circle. You spin around.
Use W to get places faster. He flashed a couple of times too, so respect to Smeb. I don't know if that's a worry given their usual style that he's been late to these fights. It hasn't mattered this game, but it might matter in a different game, so not really sure what to make of that, but just not necessary given how far they are ahead of Spedder.
Catch. Gonna get nailed by an arrow, but there's no follow-up. Quick speed boost from the KOO. Just do the Baron, please. All right, there we go. We'll start that out right away. Hojin coming in here. Lock and pop to mitigate some of the damage coming out of the Baron. Here comes Secret. He's chunked down nearly immediately. He's almost dead already, even through his ultimate. Holy cow, that's a lot of damage. And there we go. Sausage is going to get kicked out, comboed immediately. Has to use the Divine Intervention on himself, but that makes Soul very weak in the front line. And now Prey just cleaning up, piling through the entire composition. That's going to be an ace, and I don't think you need this. But what?
The minions are very confused with the inhibitor respawn. They don't know where to go, Monte Cristo.
What was that? They were just sitting there twitching next to the Nexus. Inhibitor respawn, but Smeb just with a quick TP down to that side. Prey waltzes through the mid lane turret. Finally,
Smeb stops the minion bug out. Nice assist from him.
There to just help out those minions, and that is going to be the Nexus falling in game one. The style Zonias from Smeb to close out a 30-minute game and an incredibly dominant one from the KOO Tigers.
Even though those minions didn't bring their bug out bag, just were really concerned around the Nexus when they were held up. It's still a very easy win for KOO. The game's academic. It won't impact the playoffs, but KOO, to their credit, playing a little bit differently and honestly doing well, especially Prey, showing something that wasn't Corki or Sivir.
Well, at the very least, this is going to put some fear into the minds of Najin as they head into this next match.